Hey everyone, have you ever noticed that your skin breaks out more when you're going through a time of stress? And have you ever wondered if it's just a coincidence or if there's actually a connection between your brain and your skin? Today, I'm going to let you in on some clear skin secrets and all about the brain-skin connection and the fascinating ways that our stress can impact our skin. Hi, I'm Kristin. I'm a board-certified nurse practitioner, and I'm also known as the Acne MP. I specialize in healing acne naturally. I want to empower you with the knowledge and tools to reverse your acne without the use of harsh medications. If you're ready to clear your skin naturally, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get all the updates on my latest videos. I come out with a new video every week. Let's dive into this week's topic. So when we're starting out to talk about stress, we first have to recognize that there are different types of stress. The first type of stress is called eustress. So this is actually a good type of stress. This is the type of stress you might experience from a good workout or a challenge at work that you actually overcome and feel more confident after you do it, or the type of stress that comes from a first date or a job interview where you definitely feel a little stressed and a little excited, but it's a good kind of stress. You want to be on your best behavior. You want to show up as your best self. So you want those stress hormones circulating and really keeping you sharp and on the ball. That's eustress. Now, there's also the stress that comes from everyday living, and that's should be tolerable stress. So the type of stress that comes from just getting yourself to and from your job, making sure you have the groceries in the house and the bills paid and the house is clean. That is a form of stress, but it should be at a tolerable level so you're not overwhelmed with the amount of things that are going on. Really, the key to having tolerable stress is having healthy coping mechanisms. And if you're able to cope with the stress that you're experiencing, then that is still a healthy type of stress. And this is the thing, is that some people can handle a huge amount of stress, and if they're still coping well, that's still a tolerable amount of stress. And they might be going through a certain situation that normally we would not see as a tolerable amount of stress, but they're able to cope with it in a healthy way. And so that's why it's very individualistic. You can't compare your stress to someone else. You can only look at how are you coping with the stress in your life. For one person, going to college and moving across country or starting a new program, that could be very stressful. Another person, that could be very exciting. And so it really isn't the situation, it's how you're coping with it. The third type of stress is toxic stress. So this is where we're no longer able to cope with the demands on us, with the pressures that are on us. So that can mean there's an intense amount of stress on you at one time, or there's a lower amount of stress that's chronic, that's lasting for a long time, and your body is wearing out. It's no longer able to cope with that same amount of stress. If we don't have a strong mindset or good social support, then those everyday stressors can turn into toxic stress when we're not feeling supported. The way that I like to compare this types of stress is think about going for a run. So you can sprint 100 meters and you can put in a bunch of effort and you can get through that 100 meters in a very fast time. So that would be a short, intense period of stress that you can cope with. But if you kept that same pace and tried to keep that same sprinting pace up for half a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, you would wear out. Intense stress, when it's stretched over a longer period of time, can turn into toxic stress, even if you were able to cope with it at first. In the same way, if you were running at a certain pace that you could keep for a mile, if you suddenly stretch that run into a marathon, 26 miles, you won't be able to keep that same pace that you kept for a mile for 26 miles. That amount of stress would be too much. So that's where even a tolerable amount of stress, if you don't have breaks and rest and restoration and support and a healthy mindset, can turn into toxic stress. So what happens when we're experiencing toxic stress? So first of all, your fight or flight system is activated. And it's okay for the system to be activated in the short term, like for that sprint or that period of time where you need to get to the other side. But when it becomes more chronic or overly intense, you get stuck in a fight or flight system. So in the body, we have a fight or flight system called the sympathetic system, and we have a rest and digest side of our nervous system that's called the parasympathetic. And these two systems are always balancing each other. And ideally, in a healthy body, we'd be flowing in between these two states, because we don't want to always just be in a rest and digest state. We want to be up and high at certain parts of the day so we can get through and have energy for certain parts of our day. But we also want to be coming back and being grounded into our rest and digest parasympathetic state so we can heal and recover. What happens with toxic stress is that we get stuck in that fight or flight mode. Our brains and our bodies really think we're in danger or we need to be on high alert all the time. And this has very clear implications for our skin. Your skin actually has receptors for stress hormones. So your body can sense when you're producing cortisol and adrenaline and you're in a stress state. Your skin actually absorbs those hormones and actually goes into high alert and increases the inflammation in the skin. Because if you think about our ancestors, when they were stressed, they might have been facing a physical stress, like a bear attacking them. And what do you want when a bear is attacking you? You want your skin to be able to respond and stop bleeding and stop infection immediately. If you were to get wounded, your skin is your first line of defense against any wounds or injuries. And so that's why your skin is automatically triggered into an inflammatory state when you are stressed. And we know that one of the hallmarks of acne is increased inflammatory factors in the skin. So that's the direct way that our skin is responding to stress. There are also a couple indirect ways. So the stress impacts your gut and microbiome. So when you're in that fight or flight state, your body deprioritizes digestion and detoxification and hormone balance. So your digestion is put on the back burner. Your body does not need to digest or put energy to digest when you're in a survival situation. Digestion is considered a maintenance task and not a survival task. So your body is diverting energy and blood flow away from your gut, away from producing stomach acid and bile and digestive enzymes. And so over time, that creates poor digestion. You're not absorbing as much from your food. Your microbiome can become unbalanced because of the stress hormones and the imbalances with the food that's being absorbed. Body is not prioritizing repair of the digestive tract. So now your gut health is imbalanced. Your skin is inflamed because of the cortisol. Your hormones start to become unbalanced because when your body is prioritizing cortisol, it deprioritizes progesterone. Progesterone is very important to balance out estrogen. So now you have this imbalance in your reproductive hormones, which causes some PMS and period symptoms, and also can lead to different imbalances which show up on your skin. Finally, your body is not able to reach that rest and digest state to actually heal and rebalance all those things. So cortisol is having all of these domino effects in the body. In my course, the Clear Skin Code and the Teen Acne Academy, step 1 is always rebalancing the nervous system. It's always where we want to start because that is where so many of the root causes, the root of the root is way back in the nervous system. A lot of us are in denial. We might think, well, I don't feel stressed. But the body can interpret stress in many different ways. So if you're a perfectionist, if you're type A, if you're always putting a lot of pressure on yourself, or you always have a lot of deadlines and you're always putting pressure on yourself to meet these deadlines, that's extremely stressful on the body. Anxiety can also be a form of stress. So if you're someone who has a lot of racing thoughts, a lot of anxiety, that could be triggering your stress response. And then there's also internal stressors, which might be triggering your stress response too. And that could be things like blood sugar dysregulation. When your blood sugar is on a roller coaster throughout the day, your body's interpreting that as stress. Your brain gets freaked out when your blood sugar is too high or too low, because that's a life-threatening situation to have blood sugar either too low or too high. If you're not balancing your blood sugar well enough, then that can really lead to stress responses happening in the body. A lot of people avoid this work because it can be a little bit uncomfortable to become aware of how we're showing up in the world and then take strategic steps to change that. So I'm just going to share a few of my favorite tips, little things that you can apply today to begin that process of first becoming aware of how you're showing up and then how to transform the way that you're showing up so that your body is not in that chronic fight or flight state. First of all, just want you to start paying attention to how you respond to things that might be upsetting or stressful in your life. Do you respond with this tightness in your chest? Do you have a clenching of your jaw? Do you have a lot of teeth grinding? Do you have pain or tension in your neck and your back on a regular basis? That can mean that you're storing that stress in your body. So even if you're not consciously aware of it, your body is aware of it because of how you're holding your posture. A lot of people store their stress in their hips or in their pelvic floor, and that can be very tight and create imbalances in the back, which leads to back pain. Other people may experience migraines or headaches. Other people might experience insomnia, and that's me. I have trouble with insomnia when I'm not regulating my nervous system adequately. That's when I know I really need to pay attention to my stress and rebalance my nervous system. One of my favorite tricks to help ground your nervous system, help you shift back into that parasympathetic rest and digest state, is to simply spend more time in nature. In the Japanese culture, they call this forest bathing. So this means just going for a walk in nature, observing the wildlife, observing the trees, listening to the wind. Just taking time to be very present in nature is super grounding. And if you think about our ancestors, they would spend all day in nature, and we have very artificial environments now. We're in front of screens all day. We're in a little box that's heated and cooled in our homes or in our offices. We're not in touch with nature like we used to be. That is very biologically calming to our nervous system. Another key tip is that you want to turn down the noise in your life. So this could be noise coming from social media, from news outlets, from TV. Start turning off those sources of noise. Get off social media if you need a break from it. Don't turn on Netflix at night. Instead, read a book. That will be much more calming on your nervous system. So start taking strategic steps. And it's pretty hard to break some of these cycles because it's so ingrained in our modern culture. But it can help turn down the noise in your brain, which helps your body switch into that rest and digest mode and out of that fight or flight mode. Finally, one of my favorite tips is, particularly when you're trying to heal from acne, there can be a temptation to become very anxious about our skin and obsessive about our skin. We wake up in the morning and we check our skin every morning, and we start to become very anxious about seeing a new pimple and what we should do about it and why am I broken. We start having all these anxieties. I want you to flip the script to your mind and just start thinking about curiosity, learning from your body. What is your body trying to tell you? And just be curious and gentle instead of anxious and uptight. And let that negative energy of anxiety just flow away from you. We do not want that when we're trying to heal. We need to cultivate curiosity and grace in that healing process and extend a lot of grace to yourself. And when you see that new pimple, look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say, I'm going to extend you grace. It's okay to have a pimple. I am learning, I'm growing, I am moving towards complete healing. I'm not going to let anxiety dwell in me. I'm going to release that and embrace curiosity and grace and gentleness towards yourself. And that's going to help welcome in that peaceful energy that we need in order to heal. If you're curious about how to heal your skin naturally, sign up for my free acne masterclass below, where I'll share my 5-step clear skin method, how you can reverse your acne naturally without the use of harsh medications. I'm glad you joined me in this video. Make sure you subscribe to get alerted about next week's topic. I will see you there.